They said it could burn on water, a weapon so fearsome, so secret that even its own creators took its formula to the grave. Witnesses told of fire that clung to skin, devoured ships whole, and couldn't be put out, not with sand, not with water, not even by smothering. It hissed, screamed, and ate through everything it touched. To the soldiers of the Byzantine Empire, it was salvation. To their enemies, it was the devil himself, bottled and unleashed at sea. This is the story of Greek fire, the closest thing the ancient world ever had to a weapon of mass destruction. In the 7th century, the Roman Empire wasn't dead. Not yet. Its capital had shifted east to Constantinople, the glittering city that bridged Europe and Asia. But the glory of Rome was cracking. Empires were rising all around it, the Persians to the east, the Bulgars to the north, and most dangerously, the Caliphate of the Arabs to the south, who had swept across the Middle East with terrifying speed. By 672 AD, the Arab navy had one goal: take Constantinople. They came with hundreds of ships armed to the teeth, their sails fat with the wind of destiny. The Byzantines, outnumbered, outgunned, and exhausted, had one final card to play, and it came from a single man. His name was Callinicus of Heliopolis, a refugee, a chemist, a man fleeing the Arab conquest of Syria. He arrived in Constantinople with an idea, an invention, a liquid weapon, unlike anything the world had ever seen. Callinicus claimed his formula could create liquid fire. It could be projected from tubes. It could stick to wood and flesh, and it would burn even on the surface of the sea. Emperor Constantine IV listened and gambled on the desperate promise. In 673, the Byzantines faced annihilation at sea. Arab ships formed a crescent around Constantinople's harbor. The city's defenses trembled. Then, out of the fog, Byzantine dromons, war galleys, emerged. Their decks were lined with strange bronze tubes, each shaped like a dragon's head. The crews cranked bellows, pressurizing hidden tanks below deck. And then, fire. It roared out of the dragon mouths in a jet of flame, arching through the air, smashing into the nearest enemy ship. Men screamed as the liquid fire splashed across wood and water alike, burning both. Those who jumped into the sea found no mercy. The fire followed them, dancing on the waves, clinging to their armor. Panic spread through the Arab fleet. Ship after ship caught fire. Within hours, the siege was broken. The empire had survived not through strength, but through alchemy and fear. For nearly 400 years, Greek fire remained the Byzantine Empire's most closely guarded secret, one so protected that it was treated as divine revelation. Only the emperor himself and a handful of engineers knew the formula, and to betray it was treason punishable by death. The substance was stored in sealed bronze tubes, pressurized tanks, and handheld siphons. Byzantine engineers developed a specialized unit of sailors and fire masters called siphonarioi, men trained not just to handle the weapon but to deploy it without burning themselves alive. They were, in effect, the empire's own pyrotechnic corps. We still don't know what the formula was. Historians and chemists have debated for centuries. Theories range from crude oil and quicklime to sulfur and resin mixtures to petroleum thickened with pitch and saltpeter. But the key wasn't just the ingredients, it was the delivery system. Greek fire wasn't poured, it was projected, likely through a system of pumps, pressure, and bronze nozzles. The mixture may have been ignited by a spark mechanism at the nozzle tip, shooting a burning stream across the waves like an ancient flamethrower. The effect was so shocking that chroniclers described entire fleets reduced to burning islands and enemies melting like wax. And yet, Greek fire wasn't just terrifying, it was strategic. The Byzantines didn't use it recklessly. They deployed it selectively, in naval combat and defensive sieges, because the weapon was just as dangerous to themselves as it was to their enemies. One misfire, one wind change, and an entire Byzantine ship could go up in flames. The most famous use came in 717 AD, during the Second Arab Siege of Constantinople. The Umayyad Caliphate sent a massive invasion force. Some estimates say 180,000 men and nearly 2,000 ships. Constantinople was encircled by land and sea. The city's survival looked impossible. But as the Arab fleet approached the Golden Horn, Byzantine warships waited behind the harbor chain. When the chain dropped, the Byzantines surged forward and unleashed Greek fire. Contemporary accounts say the sea itself burned red. Arab ships disintegrated in the inferno. The flames spread so fast that those watching from the city walls said it looked as if the sea had turned to molten gold. The siege dragged on through the winter, but starvation and disease ravaged the besiegers. By 718, the Arab army retreated, their fleet half destroyed, their morale shattered. Constantinople had survived, again, because of the fire that burned on water. As centuries passed, Greek fire became a symbol of divine favor. Byzantine chroniclers described it as a gift from God. Some even believed the Virgin Mary herself had revealed it to the emperor. But the empire's enemies were desperate to steal it. Arabs, Bulgars, Russes, and even Crusaders attempted to capture Greek fireships or storage vats, hoping to reverse engineer the weapon. None succeeded. Even when the Byzantines were forced into diplomacy, they refused to share it. One story tells of an Arab ambassador offering a fortune in gold for the formula. The emperor smiled and changed the subject. The secret stayed locked within the empire's walls. But secrecy has a cost. By the 12th century, the Byzantine Empire was weakening. Corruption, internal strife, and endless wars drained its power. The old masters of fire grew careless, and the knowledge of how to make and use Greek fire began to fade. By the time the Fourth Crusade arrived in 1204, the once mighty weapon had become a myth, its formula lost to time. When the Crusaders sacked Constantinople, they found storerooms filled with bronze siphons and strange flammable oils, but no one who knew how to use them. Within decades, the empire's legendary weapon was gone, its recipe, process, and technique buried under centuries of chaos. It's one of history's most complete technological disappearances. Modern science has tried to resurrect Greek fire. Experiments with crude oil, pine resin, sulfur, and quicklime have come close, but none match the described effects. Fire that ignited on water, that couldn't be extinguished, that roared with a sound like thunder. Some speculate the secret ingredient may have been petroleum from the Black Sea region, mixed with chemicals that reacted violently with water, such as calcium oxide or phosphorus compounds. Others suggest that compressed air or pressure pumps gave it the force needed to project like a flamethrower. Whatever the truth, the Byzantines created something so advanced for its time that it would take over 1,000 years for humans to develop anything comparable. There's another mystery, though, one less about chemistry and more about morality. For centuries, the Byzantine Empire saw Greek fire as a miracle, a symbol of divine protection. But others saw it differently. The weapon blurred the line between warfare and terror. Accounts from survivors describe the horror of seeing comrades engulfed alive, screaming as the sea itself betrayed them. Was it genius or atrocity? The question echoes across history. The Byzantines believed they were defending civilization itself from destruction, and perhaps they were. But when you read those accounts of men diving into the sea only to be followed by living fire, it's hard not to see the shadow of something modern. Because in the end, Greek fire wasn't just an ancient weapon. It was a warning, a glimpse into how far humanity will go when survival is at stake. In the centuries that followed, other empires would chase that same destructive brilliance. Gunpowder, dynamite, napalm, the atomic bomb. Each in its own way promised safety through power and delivered horror through invention. Greek fire was the prototype for them all, a weapon of such fearsome might that it protected an empire for 700 years, and then vanished, leaving only fragments of legend and fear. Even today, the formula remains undiscovered. Chemists can guess, historians can speculate, but the Byzantines took it to their graves, and maybe that's for the best. When the archaeologist Theophanes the Confessor wrote of the siege of 717, he described watching the Arab fleet burning from the city walls. He wrote, "The sea burned beneath them as though the very waters had turned to flame, and all who saw it knew the hand of God was in the fire. But what if it wasn't divine? What if it was simply human ingenuity, our endless pursuit to master destruction? Maybe Greek fire wasn't a gift from heaven. Maybe it was our first spark of hell. If you enjoyed uncovering the secrets of the past, don't let this be the last time. Hit like to keep history burning bright, and subscribe for more lost stories, hidden empires, and forgotten inventions that shaped our world. The past isn't finished with us yet, and neither is this channel.